Hi guys, Happy New Year. It is finally 2023 and I gotta say I have a ton of things that I am super grateful for in the past year. By the end of 2022, I finished basically a year and a half of med school. What? Time has passed by so quickly. I feel like I've aged like 5 years, but it's only been 18 months so far. So by the start of 2022, we started learning about the autonomic nervous system. We started learning about the heart, the lungs, the renal system. We learned about the GI system. And then we had a summer break. I did a research project. And when we came back to the fall, we started to learn about the musculoskeletal system. And then we learned about the brain, and we learned about behavior in the forms of neurology and psychiatry. And then we started with reproductive systems, and that's where we ended in December. And now it's January. We are in, at least me and my classmates, we are in our final preclinical block. We are in the endocrinology block, and this is the last block we have before we go into step 1 studying, which is the first part in a 3-part licensing exam. And wow, yeah, 2022 has been quite a whirlwind just with school and all that. Again, I'm always reflecting on how much I've changed, learning about things that stress me out, things I can do to cope with stress, and things that matter a lot to me, which brings me into things that I really want to focus on in this upcoming year. In 2023, in thinking of things that matter a lot to me, I want to work more on social media. I hit a couple of milestones this past year. My YouTube account finally got to 100 subscribers. Whoa, okay, it's not that much, but it's still progress nonetheless. My Instagram account has about 800 followers now, not too crazy. My TikTok account has gotten to 1738 subscribers. And yeah, it's been really fun. I have a lot of plans for this upcoming year. I think it's going to get a lot more exciting once I start into rotations, which is the next big thing. Okay, so right now we're finishing our endocrinology block. I have about another week of lectures, then we do our final exams, and then we have a couple more things, and then I have 10 weeks of dedicated time. Med school, you know, different schools give different amounts of time for step 1. My school gives us 10 weeks of, hey, don't do anything except study for the step 1 exam. You don't have any classes, you don't have any didactics, you don't have any lectures. Please don't do anything except study for step 1 exam, which is essentially a recap of everything that they've been teaching us for this past year and a half. And so after that 10 weeks, that's when the exciting stuff happens. That's when I start my rotations. The first 2 years of medical school is usually preclinical, which is you're in class, you're learning about the organ systems, you're learning about biochem, you're learning about pathophysiology, and then your second 2 years, your last 2 years in medical school, at least in the US, your last 2 years are you doing your rotations and clerkships. You are actively in the hospital, you are in the clinic. Up until now, I've been shadowing doctors kind of on my free time. On top of that, we do have a little bit of early clinical exposure once a month. My school has a program where we are matched up with preceptors, and once a month we essentially go out into the clinic or the hospital, and we follow that doctor or that preceptor for a day. And so we've got a little bit of clinical exposure, but now we're gonna go into the hospitals like every day. That's gonna start in May of this year, and I think that's when the exciting stuff happens. This is what I've been waiting for as a medical student. You know, throughout my gap years, this is what I was waiting for when I was in college, and I was declaring myself as a pre-med student back when I was in high school, telling people that I want to be a doctor. This is the part of medical school that everyone's kind of looking forward to. Also not looking forward to in a way, because it's really stressful. You're, you know, bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. You're kind of new on the scene. You really have a small idea of what's going on, but for the big part of it, you kind of don't know what's going on. And this is the biggest learning curve, the biggest time for me to kind of like get educated and figure out what it means to be a doctor. Like, I'm gonna be in the hospitals and the clinics, and that's like super exciting. And from a social media standpoint, I think it's gonna be more exciting in the fact that I'm gonna have more things to share with you guys. Up until now, I've just been talking about studying or just showing you guys what it looks like to study. Of course, with HIPAA, I can't like show you me like actually in the clinic and doing things, but now I'm gonna be experiencing more things like being on a night float and seeing what it's like to stay in the hospital overnight, and really learning more about what residents do and what attendings do, and just kind of working with them on a daily basis and having a better understanding of what it's like to actually be in the hospital. And at the least, that's gonna be a lot more exciting to talk about when I talk about like cases and things that I see on a daily basis. But yeah, everyone's talking about New Year's resolutions. I really don't have too many. I want to get through STEP and do well. It's pass fail nowadays. It used to be scored, but I still want to do well because I think preparing for Step 1, a lot of the Step 1 material, I assume that's what I'm going to see when I'm in the hospitals and clinics, and I don't want to go in looking like a lost deer or a deer in headlights. So I really want to study well for Step 1 to sort of prepare me for going into the hospitals. I also want to be more active in my social media outlets. You know, I've been having a lot of fun making like silly little TikTok videos. I do want to talk more about my experiences as a medical student, talk more about my experiences once I finally start my rotations, talk about things that I see in there as they're interesting, or maybe influence other people to go into medicine or some sort of healthcare professional field. And lastly, I do want to start painting again. I know that my time is going to be taken up a lot with studying for Step 1, and then after Step 1 is going to be rotations, but I would like to find a weekend every now and then to kind of just paint. Back in the day, I used to paint a lot, I used to draw a lot, kind of lost touch with that as I've been going to med school and like doing this and talking to a camera and a light up microphone. But yeah, I just wanted to do this really short video and talk about briefly just everything that I did this past year in 2022 and things that I'm looking forward to this year, things I've achieved in terms of getting more followers on the different social media platforms that I do have. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what else I can do. All right, signing off. This is Tony Chang, MS2. First licensing exam, which is the first part in a 3-step licensing, first part in a 3-part licensing.